Hello, eminent constituents of the Sydney electorate. I'm Dr. Bruce Long. I'm running for the seat of Sydney in the upcoming New South Wales state elections. Look, on the topic of the taxation of churches and what I like to call megacult institutions, in fact, any large religious institution that owns a lot of property across New South Wales, and of course, most of them own, if they own property in New South Wales, they own property across the country and throughout the Commonwealth. Anyway, in relation to the taxation of these institutions, such as the Christian megacult and sects thereof, and all of its larger subcults, and any other large religious institution that owns property in New South Wales and across Australia. Currently, churches are, for example, excuse me, taxed on the basis of, in terms of land tax, we're looking at land tax here specifically, they're taxed on the basis of the way in which their properties are used. Now, my understanding is that some megacult institutions, for example, subcults of the Christian megacult in New South Wales, are run like businesses already, and as a result, I'm uncertain in all cases, because there are so many of them and there are so many differences between each one, whether they pay land tax specifically, but I know in a lot of cases they do pay tax as businesses. But there are still a lot of them that have enormous amounts of property, and between them, just the subcults of the Christian megacult in New South Wales and across Australia and the Commonwealth own hundreds of millions of dollars worth of property, and they own some of the most expensive prestige property in the Sydney Basin, certainly, and in the CBD of Sydney. And so, really, they have enormous wealth, and they should be being taxed accordingly. Now, currently in New South Wales and Victoria, the legislation says that they're only taxed if they use their church properties registered as charitable under the umbrella of charitable institutions or charitable bodies. If they use those properties for profit-making endeavours or enterprises, like running yoga classes out of their church hall or something like that, for which people have to pay, or running some kind of extended education courses that don't really have anything to do with their charity work or are loosely connected thereto. So under those circumstances now, at this time in New South Wales and in Victoria, those institutions have to pay land tax. I think that's woefully inadequate. I think, given that these are incredibly wealthy institutions that draw so much from Australian society, and in my view, they don't put anywhere near as much back into our society, although I'm sure they'd like to claim otherwise. And at the same time, they're responsible for enormous amounts of bigotry and infidelphobia. So, they cause huge problems by way of the spread of their mimetic narratives. They cause huge problems for other faiths. They cause huge problems for unbelievers, and they cause huge problems especially for the LGBTQA plus community. And there are lots of other ways in which they simply get in the way of progress in government and industry and various other spheres of endeavour, and various other ways in both our government and our society more broadly. So they really should be paying land tax, given the amount of really incredibly expensive property that they own. They have the means to pay it because they are such wealthy landowners, and therefore they should have a means test applied to them along those lines, such that, and that should be what is used to decide whether they pay land tax, not whether they use their vast church property, to run a yoga class or whatever it is that they do. So I am trying to get 5 supporters so that I can submit a petition to Parliament along these lines. And of course, if you vote me in the elections in March, the New South Wales state government elections, and if you vote me into the seat of Sydney, then I'll immediately start to work on producing bills to present to Parliament and try to get passed through Parliament along these lines too, so that huge theist megacult institutions that, as I said, not only draw so much on our Australian society, but are in many ways a massive drag socially, culturally, ethically, and otherwise on our society, and I think financially too, such that they're made to pay land tax in a fair and forthright manner on the basis of their enormous wealth. So if you'd like to get behind that petition, please have a look at the quick details about it on my website, on my campaign website, and fire me an email. All you have to do is send me an email saying I support this petition, and I can use that to forward to Parliament as evidence of your support. I only need 5 people to do that, and I'll put that petition through. I'm Dr. Bruce Long, and thank you very much for your time.